we'll come back to the critic in a bit. The critics are very, very important because you know what the critic would say if you didn't let pleaser, which is your dominant sub-self, run things. The critic and the pleaser would get together and say, "Don't be selfish." In other words, don't be such a taker. Be just a giver. And so, to really balance things out, I would like you to again shift to a totally different position and become the taker, the one that the inner critic called selfish.
Okay.
She's moving. Wow, her demeanor has changed. Wow. So what do you like, taker?
I'm Jan's taker, and I'm not going to let her get pushed around. I'm going to take, and so that she feels nourished and she feels like life is worth living, that it's okay to get up today because in the course of the day her needs are going to get met, and even some of her desires, some of her wants, some of those things that she doesn't have to survive, but she just wants to do and needs to do for her own comfort level, for other things that are beyond, basic needs. Some luxuries. I give her some luxuries, some little gifts. I'm a taker. I give Janet the center things to look forward to make her happy.
When did you become a big part of her life, or what brought you out?
Well, therapy with Dr. Lesson really helped take her to come out and balance, and so of course when I came out there was a little bit of a desire to kind of make up for lost time and take more than was necessary. So pleaser and critic did come in periodically and say don't be selfish, and there are still moments when I take her and being interrupted by pleaser and critic and reminded that there is a balance. And so I'm working very hard to balance myself against the other personalities that reside within this being named Janet.
So in your community, if you were totally in control of Janet Taker, how would you have her run the community?
Well, I'm like a control freak, so everybody would do everything I said and everything I wanted, and they would just trust me and understand that I know what I'm talking about and just do it, and don't give me any kind of flack, just do it. And that's not realistic in community. That might be okay in a normal, family with mother and father, and maybe the mother's dominant. There are many families like that, and I am just the matriarch, and everybody does what I says. But I'm living in community, so Janet's living in community. I'm just a taker, and I have to balance my desire to take with the needs of, or actually she has to balance this. I'm just sitting here as the voice saying, you need to take and stop exhausting yourself. Take something. Take time off. Take some food that you need that's nourishing. Take some time for pleasure, for joy. Take time to be creative. I'm the taker.
Okay, yes, a taker. So let's even have you look a little bit more, not just at community, but in terms of lovemaking and tantra. If you were in charge of Janet's love life, taker, how would you run it?
Well, I would have her get her needs met for sexual loving and intimacy. So I would just take over and put the lovemaking into schedule. So it's time to schedule some things like that, lovemaking into one's life. Make sure you do that.
Very cool. Okay.
Not just for me, but for anybody out there listening.
Absolutely.
And don't let the kids' soccer games and all those things overrun your love life. Just shut off the phone and tell your friends I'm not available, and set up some time, hopefully a weekend now and again, with nobody else.
Okay, so Janet, I would like you now to leave Taker. I'm glad that you are emerging as a important voice that Janet listens to. Doesn't necessarily do what you say, but she listens to you now. Janet, move back to your center And
Okay.
S, what did that feel like to be in
Well, taker's not as comfortable a role for me as giver and pleaser. And it's a new role for me. It's a new well, there's always some taker in anybody's repertoire, because if you don't take something, you would die. So, but taker's been kind of in the shadows and behind the scenes. So I'm allowing taker out more and more. And sometimes I go a whole day and taker's not out at all. So I'm still working on giving taker her turn, so she can have a day, she can have some time, and get more of her needs, wants, and desires met than she's doing right now. She needs to do better in balancing giver, pleaser, and taker.
Thank you. So what we've done so far in terms of working with this fifth chakra, we've looked at the part of that that could express herself and say what she wants, and the part that just tunes into other people and sees what they want and what they need, so that they'll like her. And so now Janet has reached the point of being centered. Now we would do some little experiments with. Let's imagine a situation where somebody in the community hasn't been doing their share. Okay, they haven't, from your perspective, they haven't done what you think that it would be a fair amount for them to do. And so that I want you to now imagine you're talking to that person, but you're first of all talk to them from your pleaser. You're going to try to see if you can be nice to them and get them to do their share. And what would you and just imagine, let's say we're talking to person X. What would you say about person X for person X to do his or her share?
Well,
from pleaser.
Would you please? Would you be willing to, do the laundry or do this project in exchange for reduced rent or so much per hour? So yeah, I would just approach it logically, like, hi,
okay,
we need this project done.
And if your taker was asserter, was in command of the fifth chakra, how would you handle that same situation?
I'd give him a piece of paper and say, "This is your job. You don't do it, you're fired."
Right, and so
pretty black and white.
So you can see yourself as Janet, the whole person, can be centered between these two aspects: the part that can please, or the part that can demand, and you can choose to what degree you want each particular part of you to express. So this is the general way that we deal with what you say and what you don't say. You can process everything internally. What does this subpersonality that wants to please others want to say about this situation? What is the part that wants to make sure that you yourself are okay and get what you need? And how would you handle that situation? Then from your witness, which is your neutral part that can just see how things work, you get to make some kind of a coordinated thing. So what would you say if you are now looking at the options? You can turn up your taker, you can turn up your giver, and you assess the situation. What kind of thing might you say to this person?
Well, ask me that again. What's her?
Well, how would you make a balanced presentation? Let's think about this person who hasn't done his work for a couple of months.
How about you role model it for me? Because this has been my dilemma, and so I don't know if I can really come to this conclusion. But, it depends on the personality I'm dealing with. So sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes I come up with a personality in my community that doesn't follow the formula. And so that's when my pleaser tends to get angry because she's been approaching things diplomatically. And then my taker gets cranked up. My taker gets cranked up higher and bigger, and then the it's kind of like the log gets laid down, and then it's the disconnect and wanting to, vote the fellow off the island, or the person. So that's my pattern, and I'm just not sure exactly how to do that.
Oh, what I would do, you want me to role play it for you, is I would say, so and so, I'm feeling conflicted about you. I really want you to be here and be glad you're here and be a contributing a member of this community, and I'm also having a part of me that feels like we're doing more of your work and you're not doing your share, and I want you to do more, and I'm really hoping that we can work out something so that I can resolve this conflict that I'm having between the part of me that wants you to stay and really work it out, and the part of me that's saying, well, if you're not going to cooperate more, you have to leave. I don't want you to have to leave. I'd much rather you work things out. Anyway, so that's my dilemma. I'd like you to respond to that. Something like that is probably what I would do.
Right, and I think that's a typical problem in community as well as families. Trying to balance the chores amongst all the members of the family. Somebody in the mother, somebody takes the mother role or the nurturing role, and they do most of the house cleaning, typically in families. And so you see that the disowned self, it tends to get passed around. So there's the neat Nick and the messy person. So even with the dynamics of a family or community, this is a very difficult balance. So I do achieve it somewhat on a day at a time with different people within the community, like with you. Sasha's also my husband, and Dr. Liston's my husband, and so we're pretty good at dividing up the chores. You're good at running to the store on errands, or washing dishes, or running the vacuum. And to take that beyond the dyad into a family, into a tribe, either way, it's because the more people in a community, the more work there's more people messing things up, and there's more work to do. But in another way, if you pull together and do it together, there's a tendency for work to be easier. So if everybody pitches in, so I don't think we're going to resolve this on this show.
Oh, no, we're just trying to show how that you can honor different and conflicting parts of yourself. Not all the parts have to have the same view. What you really need to do is you need to recognize what your subpersonalities are, not just the ones that are on the surface, but also the ones that are underdeveloped. You have to recognize, you have to accept them. There aren't any bad subselves. Even the taker that wants to boss everybody around, for example, isn't a bad subself. It's when you get down to what it really needs, which is to have the attention and leisure and enjoyment that every part of you needs. So all parts of you have something to contribute, and what as a center you do is you listen to all the parts, you accept them all, and you coordinate them. And it's also useful in vitalizing your voice before you do any external action, if you have time to react this way, to do an inventory to see what the voice of each chakra says. Now, if something emergency happens, you're not going to have this internal debate about what to do. Your primary will kick in. So if Janet, if you were stressed and somebody was leaning on you, you would look in their eyes and say, what do I have to do to please this person? And that would be your automatic response, and it would probably it's what saved you from your murderous mother and so forth. But it's something that is your default. But if and when you have time to reflect, we would go through. You have a committee meeting of each of your chakra voices. So, Janet, how does your inner child feel? Be inner child. How do you feel about community, kid?
Well, I'm the inner child.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
Janet's inner child. And sometimes it's fun having all these playmates around. It's fun having people to talk to, and I'm the child that was lonely. Inner child, my real child was lonely, so I, the inner child, like having different people around to do things with, go to the store with, watch